something that uh, yes, I'm going to go. We're going to go live, and I'm going to talk. Some of you are not aware of this. There are some people are saying it's a host. You want to read it? Then? Yeah, good. So this is something that was passed by 10 Downing Street. I've had someone look into it. There are those who are saying it's not a hoax. They're saying it is legit, but officer will read it, and this is in regards to what they're now getting ready to do in 2021.
This is a official document from 10 Downing Street in London. It reads, "Dear citizen, I am personally writing to you in order to alert you to a new governmental policy in which we are proposing that all UK residents will be required to wear a RFID microchip from January 1st, 2021. These are small chips that can be injected under the skin. The UK residents will be able to get a free implant at their local NHS surgery. It is important that the UK government does all it can to protect its citizens in a world where we face issues of terrorism, crime, and cyber fraud. The RFID microchips will enable law enforcement agencies to track the movements of criminals and terrorists. It also holds a unique personal identification number that, once scanned, will allow law enforcement agencies to identify whether that person is wanted for a crime, an illegal immigrant, or a terrorist sympathizer, etc. I am asking all UK citizens to write to their local member of parliament to voice their opinions on this policy. Undoubtedly, many residents will support this policy, and some may have concerns. It is important that we get our feedback before this policy is enshrined in law, meaning you will be given a custodial sentence if you fail to have one implanted. Sincerely yours, R.T. Han Boris Johnson.
So you could see now that it's become law. Now, in exactly less than 6 months, it's going to be law for people to have this chip put in them. Now, the point that I guess I want to stress to you is this. Just bear with me a moment. Bear with me because I have something else I want to make sure that you listen to. This is going to be a bit of listening, but it's important that you hear this. So for those of you out there in YouTube land listening to this as well, be aware of what's going on because this is a whistleblower who has got this information from the Rockefeller, or not Rockefeller, Foundation. Let me just play it right away. It's long. It's about maybe 10 minutes at least. So just listen attentively. Do make notes.
Please listen to this extract from the Rockefeller Foundation article. It's actually on the website, PDF document. And this is the outline. One, hypothesize a simulated global outbreak. Required steps, various phases, overall timeline, and expected outcomes. Rockefeller Lockstep 2010. Create a very contagious but super low mortality rate virus. To fit the needed plan. And they have SARS/HIV hybrid research strain. So you see, it is not a purely viral thing. It's a hybrid research strain created at Fort Detrick Class 4 lab from 2008 to 2013 as part of a research project to find out why coronavirus spread like wildfire in bats, but have an extremely hard time infecting humans, hence the 4 HIV insects, also known as the missing key to infect the humans, ACE2 receptor in brackets. Create a weaponized version of the virus with a much higher mortality rate as a backup plan, ready to be released in phase 3, but only if needed. And they have, in brackets, SARS, HIV, MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Disease or something. A weaponized tri-brain strain created at Fort Detrick Class 4 lab in 2015. Okay? Transfer the research strain to a different Class 4 lab, National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg, Canada, and have it stolen and smuggled out by China. Wow. On purpose, and taken to China's only Class 4 laboratory, Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, for added plausible deniability and to help cement the wanted backup public script as something to fall back on if needed.
Are you seeing this?
Primary script being its natural backup script being that China created it and released it by accident. That's why we said pandemic or accident according to plan. Found all the talking heads, Fauci, Birx, Tedros, and agencies, WHO, NIH, CDC, UN, that would be involved with pandemic response prior to the planned release of the research strain to control the wanted script throughout the operation. Create and fund the vaccination development and roll-out plan so it's capable of being rolled out on a global scale. The Gates Decade of Vaccines Global Vaccine Action Plan 2010 to 2020. Create and fund the vaccination verification certification protocols, digital ID, to enforce, confirm the vaccination program after the mandatory rollout is enacted, Gates ID 2020. Simulate the lockstep hypothesis just prior to the planned research strain release, using a real-world exercise as a final war game to determine the expected response timelines and outcomes. Gates, and that's Event 201, October 2019. Release the research strain at the Wuhan Institute of Virology itself, and then blame its release on a natural scapegoat as the wanted primary script, the Wuhan wet market, November 2019. You see how this thing has been really cashing. This is mystery of iniquity, wickedness, cached in secrecy. Downplay the human-to-human transmission for as long as possible to allow the research strain to spread on a global scale before any country can lock down or respond to avoid initial infection. Can you imagine? No wonder the WHO, that's exactly what the WHO did. Downplay the human-to-human transmission for as long as possible to allow the research strain to spread on a global scale before any country can lock down or respond to avoid initial infection. Once the country has seed infection in place, lock down incoming, outgoing travel, but keep the transmission within the country spreading for as long as possible. Once enough people in a country or region are infected, enact forced quarantines or isolation for that area and expand the lockdown regions slowly over time. Overhype the mortality rate by tying the research strain to deaths that have little to nothing to do with the actual virus to keep the fear and compliance at the maximum. If anyone dies for any reason and it's found they have COVID, consider it a COVID death. And if anyone is thought to of maybe had symptoms of COVID, to assume they have COVID and consider it a COVID death. So this is what we have been hearing, that a lot of the deaths have been exaggerated. That's why the Americans are challenging the Chinese. The Chinese were not wrong. They were quoting the right figures. But this thing was bred and brewed in America by the Americans, by the depopulation agenda of Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and the Rockefeller Foundation. what they are counting in America, a lot of them has nothing to do with COVID-19. There are many people who have died of other diseases that have nothing to do with COVID-19, but have some of the symptoms, and they just branded all of them as COVID-19. That's why Anthony Fauci could stand and speak with confidence that there will be 200,000 deaths. Shame on him. Keep the public quarantine for as long as possible to destroy the region's economy. Can you see? Can you see? To destroy the region's economy, create civil unrest, break down the supply chain, and cause the start of mass food shortages, as well as cause people's immune system to weaken due to lack of interaction with other people, bacteria, the outside world, also known as OACA, the things that keep our immune system alert and alive. So this thing we are doing is actually making us susceptible to diseases and weakening our immune system. That's why we should go out. They are joking. Downplay and attack any potential treatments and continue to echo that only a cure is viable to fight this virus, or also known as a vaccine. Continue to drag out the quarantine over and over again in 2-week intervals. Hey! Causing more and more people to eventually stand up and protest or defy them. Eventually, God have mercy. Eventually, end the phase 1 quarantine once they get enough public pushback around June 2020, and publicly say that they still think it is too early to end the isolation, but are going to do it anyways.
It's all tied into the dates we're dealing with now.
Back to normal in coast. Wait a few weeks and then continue to overhype the research strain mortality rate, August to September 2020, and combine it with the increase in deaths due to people dying from standard illnesses at a higher rate than normal due to having highly weakened immune systems from months of being in isolation to help further pad the mortality rate and have the upcoming phase 2 lockdown. So there's a phase 2 lockdown they are planning. Eventually enact phase 2 quarantines October to November on an even more extreme level and blame the protesters, mostly people who don't trust their government already, for the cause of the larger second wave. We told you so. It was too early. This is all your fault. Because you needed a haircut, your freedoms have consequences. Enforce the phase 2 quarantine at a much more extreme level, increasing the penalty for defiance. Replace fines with jail term. Deem all travels as non-essential. Increase checkpoints, including military assistance. Increase tracking, tracing of the population. Mandatory acts. Take over control of food, gas, large-scale shortages so that people can only get access to essential products, services, if they are first given permission. Keep the phase 2 lockdown in place for a much longer period of time than the phase 1 lockdown. Continue to destroy the global economy, further degrade the supply chain, and further amplify the food shortages and alike. Quell any public outrage using extreme action and force, and make anyone who defies them appear as public enemy number 1 to those who are willing to submit. After a rather long phase 2 lockdown, 6+ months, roll out the vaccination program, vaccine certification, and make it mandatory for everyone, giving priority access to those that submitted from the start, and have those that are for it attack those that are against it, saying they are a threat to the cause of all. Say, the problems, we can't go back to normal until everyone takes the vaccine. People define them are hurting our way of life and therefore are the enemy. Can you imagine? Can you imagine for the parents? Listen. If the majority of people go along the agenda, then let those people enter the new system, new normal, while limiting the minority that defy the agenda's ability to work and travel. If the majority of the people go against agenda, they release a weaponized SARS-CoV, HIV-CoV, MERS, triplet strain as phase 3, a virus with a 30% plus mortality rate as a final scare to
you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to stop it there, but the plan is that there's going to be a phase 2. The plan is that they're looking to get it optimized and operational by the end of this year. So, and this is from the Rockefeller Foundation. So it's going to be interesting to see how what we've just heard plays out in real life. It just goes to show that we truly are dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places. We truly are. Any questions from anyone before we go into the lesson? Any questions? Go ahead, sir.
Sir, is that something that can be found?
What this?
That,
This information here? It was found on it was a whistleblower who put it on the website for the Rockefeller Foundation. Now what happened was the Rockefellers found out, or the group, or whoever, because remember, Fauci, the Rockefellers, the Gates, they're all banded together. They're taking it down a couple of times. So what he decided to do, since he has the report, he would read it so that it's out there and no one can refute it, even if they try to take it down. So I'm going to send this to everyone anyway, so you have a copy of it, and you'll be able to listen to it in its entirety. But you can see it's setting everything up for a problematic future. Any questions from anyone else? Go ahead, please.
So, as far as all of this stuff is coming up, as far as people that have their own businesses,
Right.
so what are we supposed to do as far as that? Just keep going on every day? Like, because if they come in and they shut our business down because we're not going to touch it.
Come on. I get you. Those who have their own business, what are they supposed to do? Yeah, I'm a business owner too, so I commiserate with you. But here's what the enemy's trying to do. Remember, they're trying to change the global economy. They're trying to ensure that everyone has an RFID chip. They're trying to make sure that people are so frightened, so afraid, that they run to go. I was with an elderly black couple yesterday, and they're so bought into this COVID-19 that it's like they believe every word that comes out of the news. That's what's going to kill our people. And this was with our people I was with. Now, here's the other nations, however. They are kind of treating it kind of like, like watching it. I found that the Caucasian people I've gone to, they're using words like, if this country does that mess, I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to go out. That's what they would be telling me. I've been into homes where I've seen shotguns, AKs, beside their beds. I tell you, there's Yahweh. I'm not exaggerating this. Which shows that these people have geared their head up to this, knowing that whoever's going to burst into their home, this no not warranted thing, they're going to be shooting back at some folk. This thing is very, very serious. Our people don't take news like this seriously. We wait until it happens and then we start to react. We have to become proactive, get things, do things, have things in preparedness beforehand. And this is why one of the things I always say to people, especially we who are business owners in our community, don't spend every penny. Put money aside. Because you don't know what's going on in the future. You see? And I heard what you said over there. And here's the thing. I won't say that online, but here it is. You're right. Get the proper facilities to lock down some things. I've already got that. I've had it done ages ago. Why? Because, you see, you can't even go to the banks now. See? So our people need to get our savvy together with these things. And we need to also not talk about our business openly to everybody. Because we don't know who's who. And here's the other thing to bear in mind as well. That when this thing happens, it's going to shut down a whole lot more business. Look at the business that I've shut down. Business that you never thought would shut down are shutting down. We'll let you know how serious this thing is.
Because it is, because like you listen to like the Moab. I don't know what I'm
Yeah, Moab is Chinese.
So like I'm not scared of anything, I just want to be
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not scared either. All I am, I'm in a state of constant preparedness. That's what I'm in. I don't go out on the street and I take everything for granted. I'm watching who's walking up to me, when. I watch police cars. I watch everything. I'm aware of my environment. I was trained that way when I was in the military, and I continue to maintain that same mindset. I know I watch what cars are following me, what cars are turning around. But oh, you're taking it too far. We're living in this day and age that you have to take it that far. When my wife goes to work, she calls me or sends me a text to let me know she's arrived. When she's on her way, she sends me a text to let me know she's on her way. I do likewise. Now, I can't tell anybody to do what I do because Scripture says, as for me and my house. Now, you can adopt some of what I do, but you have to be very proactive. We're dealing with an enemy who is extremely smart, and he has already thought about what he's doing up to 5 years ahead in the future. We're the only ones who's thinking only a few months down the road. We're thinking about the next July 14th party, all that nonsense. Yeah. We're thinking about Christmas coming up, all that garbage. All of these things are done to quell us, to dumb us down. Oh, when's the NBA gonna start up? Really? Anyway, let me get back to this. I lose my mind with all of this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the teaching we began the other night was another look at tongues. Another look at tongues. Now, there is this view, and again, I only see it in the black churches, where we get caught up about tongues to be everything. We really do. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm trying not to repeat myself because I dealt with part of it on Wednesday. And if you want to get the first part, go back and listen to the first part of another look at tongues, part 1, and this is the continuation of it, which is part 2. But I taught on this years ago, and without going over it, I remember when I first came, I asked the question to those who were with me from the beginning about tongues, because I wanted to get a very clear understanding how we see tongues. Some people, and why is that so important? Or why was it so important for me to know that back then? Because some people believe if you don't have tongues, you're not going to be saved. Now, you should either say, Amen, yes, that's how I came up, etc., etc., etc. That's how I came up. And was that how some of you came up?
Yes. Come on now.
Whatever, okay. But here's the thing. Tongues does not save you. Now, to all my so-called Christian friends of yesteryear, I know you're having a problem with this already. Some of you have just had a heart attack and you're not under coronary arrest at this point. But here's what I'm going to help you with. I'm going to prove everything that I'm going to say. The first thing that we must do, let's go back and maybe just overlap a little bit of what we did on Wednesday. Let's go to Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. Let's go back there. Now, here is what we like to do. We are sensational people who love to get caught up. Church was good last night. Church was good last week. And then this is what you ask them. Why was it good? And they say, oh, the Spirit of the Lord came down. All right. So why was it good? Oh, everybody was running around and this and that. So notice, Not one word has been said about how the word was. Nothing about the preaching, nothing about the teaching, just how people ran around, got sweaty, got tired, flung over some chairs, fell down, exposed themselves, had to throw some cloths over and all this business over their bodies.
God.
That's what I remember when folk were talking about church was good. The atmosphere was so thick. That's what people would do.
Wow.
Missing the point that what will save you is the word of the Most High God. His word, his laws, his statutes. That's what's going to save you. In the book of Acts, chapter 2.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Go on.
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place.
One mind. Now, Pentecost is our festival.
God.
It's our feast days. It is called, in some cases, the Feast of Weeks.
God.
And you can read about that in Leviticus chapter 23.
That's right.
That's how we take reference to it. And we follow it to the letter as best as we can in the land of our captivity.
That's right.
Now here it is. When we read on, stop at verse 4, but continue to read.
They were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven,
Go on.
as of a rushing mighty wind.
As a rushing what?
Mighty wind.
As a rushing mighty wind. Continue.
And it filled all the house where they were sitting.
And what did it do?
And it filled all the house where they were sitting.
Go on.
And there appeared unto them cloven tongues.
What?
Cloven tongues.
Go on.
Like as of fire. And it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues.
Now, the cloven tongues was done as a sign. It was a miracle in the midst of us. Why is that word so important? Because miracles didn't happen to any and any nation.
That's right.
Miracles only happened to Israel. Now, some of us are saying, but it happened to... No, sir. No, madam. You can't find that anywhere in the scriptures.
That's right.
And you will not find it in any books of history. Miracles have only happened to Israel
God.
because we are his people. We are his children.
That's right.
Now, what type of God would he be to then go and put all of these niceties on the other nations and devoid us from receiving them? No, he wouldn't do that. He deals with his children first, the same way that you would deal with your children first.
God.
And so, when we read that, now let's jump, if you please, to verse 4. Read verse 4.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 4. And they were all filled
They were all filled. Go on.
with the Holy Ghost.
With the Holy Ghost. Now that word here that we're reading, which is Holy Ghost, it's the same word in Hebrew. And it lets us know it means spirit.
God.
Spirit, not ghost. Spirit. So they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. Now, this is a New Testament, a Greek way of putting this. That's why we get this word ghost. But the origin of this is in Hebrew, and it is spirit. Rakah Kodash.
God.
Spirit. And then it said, and
began to speak with other tongues.
with other tongues. Other tongues is the operative word.
God.
Meaning there were tongues already and they spoke with other tongues. Go on.
As the Spirit gave them utterance.
As the Spirit gave them utterance. Now, I'm just going to backtrack just a little bit for some of you who didn't get Wednesday. Don't need time because I don't have time to go all the way back. But let's go, if you please, to Mark chapter 16 and 17, please. Go there quickly. Mark chapter 16 and verse 17, if you please. Read.
The book of Mark, chapter 16 and verse 17.
Read.
And these signs
Now notice, these are signs, go on,
shall follow them
shall follow them, which is us, go on.
that believe.
Only those that believe, go on.
In my name,
In whose name?
in my name,
Go on,
shall they cast out devils.
go on.
They shall speak with new tongues.
Speak with new tongues. All right. Now, what that simply means, speak with tongues other than the language that they were raised with.
Come.
That's what it means. All right. Hold it. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and 11, I believe it is. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and 11. Let's just quickly go there. 4 and 11. Read what you got.
1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 11. Even unto this present hour,
Let me see. Bear with me. Go ahead and read.
Salaki, 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 11. Even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst and are naked and are buffeted and have no certain dwelling place.
Okay. That's not the one that I want, but anyway, not to worry. Let me just, bear with me just for a quick moment. Read verse 1 for me, please, and let's go from there.
1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. Let no man so account of us as of the ministers of the Mashiach and stewards of the mysteries of God.
All right, bear with me just for a quick moment. All right, here we go. Yes. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 1.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 1.
Thank you so much.
Follow after charity.
Do what?
Follow after charity.
Go on.
And desire spiritual gifts.
And desire what?
Spiritual gifts.
Now, anyone here, tell me, what is a spiritual gift? Can somebody tell me? Anyone? Crickets.
Can I give it a try, Pastor?
Go ahead, son.
A spiritual gift is something that if someone do speak tongues, it's a gift that is given from the Most High, or either, given from the Most High.
All right, so you're saying that if someone speaks in tongues, it's a gift that's given from the Most High, all right? And anyone else? Go ahead. Shalom to you, sir.
Well, one of the things I was taught was that it was like if a person prays for someone and they get healed, or that sort of thing.
Okay.
Or being able to edify people, or something.
All right, I'll come back to that. Because what you're saying, it's not incorrect, but it flows into another area which is a little bit more expandable. All right, but let's read the next verse.
Verse 2. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue.
Speaking what?
In an unknown tongue.
Now, why it says unknown is because it's unknown to them.
Okay.
Are you with this? If you have never heard Swahili before, it's unknown to you, right? It's unknown to you. Swahili is unknown to you. You may not even know it when you hear it. If you've heard French before, when you hear it, even though you don't speak it, because you hear it, you kind of, that's French. Go on. You. How many can speak German? You can't speak German, but if you hear it, say, that's the German, that's German. You may not be able to speak Spanish, but you hear Spanish, you say, that's Spanish. Now, you can't speak it, but the tone of it, it's recognizable. It's not unknown to you.
Right.
But there are languages that like a Serbian individual, if they spoke in their tongue, you wouldn't really know what tongue that is. Now, if someone spoke Russian, you would know it's Russian, even though you don't speak Russian, right?
Right.
Because you're familiar with the tone of it. Here, the writer says, read verse 2 again.
1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 2.
Read.
For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue
Go on.
speaketh not unto men,
Go on.
but unto God.
But unto who?
But unto God.
Unto God. So then that means that when you have been speaking in tongues then, back in those days, were you speaking to God or were you speaking to everyone? All right, then answer me this. Why is it that all 20, 30, 40 of you, larger, 100, 1,000 people are speaking in tongues, and yet the scripture says that someone has to interpret it? Oh, see, but it's quiet now. Not too many feedback here now.
God.
Huh?
God.
Because it's meant to be interpreted. All right, well, let me not jump too far ahead because we don't want to dizzy up anyone's brain just now. But let's go back to Acts chapter 2 and let's go from verse 5, please.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men.
All right, hold on one moment, please, because I think I need to get that utterance word out of the way.
Come.
Let's get go with me, please, to Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 19. Run there and let's get that. Ephesians 6 and 19. Because everything has to be uttered. It has to be spoken. Go ahead.
Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 19.
Now listen carefully. I read it the other day. Let me read it again. Go.
And for me, that utterance.
Hold it. Read it again.
And for me, that utterance.
Hold it. Read it again.
And for me, that utterance.
Utterance. Go on.
May be given unto me.
Read.
That I may open my mouth boldly.
Read.
To make known the mystery of the
The
gospel.
mystery of the gospel. So the utterance has been given to you so that you're speaking the thing that is not known to everybody, so everybody knows it.
Come.
The utterance. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 9, please.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 9.
Read.
So likewise ye, except ye utter.
You what?
Except ye utter.
Except you utter. You have to speak something. It has to be conveyed. Go on.
By the tongue.
By what?
By the tongue.
By the tongue. Go on.
Words easy to be understood.
So you have to say something that I can understand if it's going to bless me,
Come.
being in the midst of you. Finish it.
How shall it be known what is spoken? For ye shall speak into the air.
Speak into the air. We have to know what is being said. We have to know what is being said. Ci vediamo domani sera. Now, if I'm going to come like that, everybody will come and, whoa, was he lost his mind? What's he going with? What's he coming with Italian for? Well, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The only reason why some of you know it's Italian because you know that run. Ci vediamo domani sera. So you say, oh, that's Italian. I got it. But you don't know what it means. And the only way you're going to know what I just said, unless somebody who speaks Italian can do what? Can translate or interpret it. Now let's go back. Acts chapter 2, let's read verse 5. Read.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem
Go on.
Jews, devout men.
And by the way, underline the word devout because you will not find that word devout with someone who's outside of Jewry.
Come.
It is only used for people who are of the children of the Most High God.
That's right.
I know what you're saying, but the Bible said Cornelius was a devout man.
That's right.
Oh, but Cornelius, he was a Jew.
God.
But how could he be a Jew? He was in the Italian band. Oh, did you not know? Oh, hold on, let me see what happens in America today. They have some black soldiers in the army of America today.
God.
So where did they come from? That has never changed. Esau has always welcomed. And by the way, for some of you, the only reason why you're lost on this is because you have this imagination that the Roman army was so great in number that they could conquer everywhere and everything. First of all, there weren't that many Roman soldiers in existence.
God.
You know why they had a lot of Roman soldiers? Because they conquered North Africa, they enslaved them, and made them a part of their system, and gave them this story that if you serve in the Roman army and you live and you come out, we will give you some land and give you some possessions.
Right.
And so they fought loyally in order to be able to inherit those goods. So the films that you see where you see these great hordes of Roman soldiers stomping through, and you see an old-looking Caucasian, you're thinking that's all there were. No. In true history, there were us in their armies, as we have been in many armies. Did you know that your great-grandfather fought in the First World War? And did you not know that he fought in the Second? Oh, hold on. Let's go back even further. They fought in the Civil War of America. North and South. We have fought in every war. They've used us. And you think that this is so hard? So when we use the word devout, and we're speaking about Cornelius, he was indeed a black man, not a white man, as the stories have been permitted for you to hear.
That's right.
But read on now, read.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven.
Out of every nation where?
Under heaven.
Go on.
Now, when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together.
Read.
And were confounded.
Read.
Because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
Read where?
In his own language.
Go on.
And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one.
Oh, stop there. They were all amazed. Now quickly with that, run down to James chapter 1 and 1. Let's prove some things about the fact that we are scattered all over the globe. James 1 and 1, watch what the brother of Yahushua said when he wrote this.
James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yahushua, the Mashiach, to the 12 tribes.
To who?
To the 12 tribes.
Go on.
Which are scattered abroad.
Scattered abroad.
Greetings.
Greetings. Even he knew that the 12 tribes are scattered abroad under every nation under the sun.
That's right.
Run, if you please, from there. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 1 and 1. Now, the reason why I want you to do it this way, because I'm trying to show you. Remember, James 1 and 1. James 1 and 1. 2 Maccabees 1 and 1. See, it's easy to remember when you keep it in that sequence. Go on.
2 Maccabees on page 139, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Read.
The brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem.
That be where?
That be at Jerusalem.
Read.
And in the land of Judea.
And in the land of Judea. Go on.
Wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt. Help.
Hold it. It said there are Jews throughout where?
Egypt.
Read.
Health and peace.
Health and peace. Showing you that our people were everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Now, is this the first time that the Most High God was doing the scattering? No. Let's go all the way back to Genesis chapter 11 and verse 1.
God.
Now, let's see something here. Let's go. Let's read that.
The book of Genesis, chapter 11 and verse 1.
Read.
And the whole earth was of one language.
So in the beginning, everybody spoke with one language, one tongue. And what was that tongue then, Pastor Thompson? Hebrew.
Con.
They're trying to make you believe that some other foolishness is the oldest language. Hebrew is the oldest language. It's called Paleo-Hebrew. Read on.
And of one speech.
So the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. You see that? Read on.
And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they were found a plain in the land of Shinar.
Shinar is what we call today, according to history, Babylon.
Con.
America is a spiritual type of Shinar.
Con.
It's Babylon. Read on.
And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly.
Now, by the way, just for some of you who are historians and you like to make notes, the word Shinar basically means summer.
Con.
All right? And what you're reading about here is in the early Bronze Age. This was when man had not yet discovered iron, because that came later with the Hittites. But this was during the early Bronze Age. All metals were bronze. Con? All right, read on.
And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar.
Read.
And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower,
Read.
whose top may reach unto heaven,
Read.
and let us make us a name.
So their problem was they wanted to make themselves a name. Go on.
Con. Lest we be scattered abroad.
Lest we be separated.
Con.
So man was already realizing that together we could do great things. If we get separated, then there's a problem. If we have one language, that means that we can identify one another because our tongue connects us.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
So when we read this now, go on.
Lest we be scattered abroad.
Lest we be what?
Lest we be scattered abroad
Go on.
upon the face of the whole earth.
On the face of the whole earth. Continue.
And the Most High came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said,
Now, just so that you understand, because some of you say, well, can you prove to me that it was Babylon? Just jump back to chapter 10. We're going to read verse 7 through to 10, which proves that Shinar is what I just said it was. Go on.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 7.
Read.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabbatai, and Ramah, and Sabbataka, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth, and he was was a mighty hunter before the Most High.
Go on.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Most High, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
So Nimrod was a king, hence why it said his kingdom. Go on.
And Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar.
Land of Shinar, right? So we know where Shinar is, and Babylon. That's in, where do you think it is today? Babylon is, in terms of this old Babylon, where is it today? Yourself?
I think it's in Iraq.
Iraq, yes, it's in Iraq. Okay, good. All right, so let's skip that. Let's go back to Acts, right? All right, so I'm just making sure I fuel you with some facts so that we get no arguments at the end of this, all right? Back to Acts chapter 2, all right, let's read what we're reading, verse 6.
Come. Acts chapter 2 and verse 6. Now, when this was known abroad,
Go on.
the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
So they said, how is it that they're speaking in my tongue, and these uneducated individuals have never even left the country? Where did they get this teaching from? That is the spirit that fell upon the disciples. Now let's jump back up just for a quick moment. Read verse 2.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 2. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting.
Go on.
And there appeared unto them cloven tongues, like as a fire, and it sat upon each of them.
Now, each of them. Now, here, follow me closer. Listen carefully, please. Don't miss this. It sat upon each of them. Remember what we just read in verse 6. It said that every man heard them speak in their own language. Are you with me so far? Now, if, let's use his brothers here. I hear Dustus speak, let's say, German. I hear Johanna here. He speaks Italian. I hear Terrence over there. I hear you speak Swahili. I hear Arthur's here. You speak with the Egyptian tongue. Now, and then I hear Wendell over there. He speaks with a Russian language. Now, here's what I want you to see. All these men are from different parts. And if I wanted to make it easy, I'd say they're from Pamphylia and all of that, but I just want to make it a little bit different. So here's the point. They all start speaking the language of the countries I just mentioned, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but come.
Come on, I need some response.
Come.
And so what happens is, as they hear them speak like that, they now recognize the tongue that they speak as assigned them to the countries that they eventually end up going to. And those became the countries that they spent their time in. Because remember, all of the disciples, they didn't all go to the same place. They were split up and they went to other places, taking other disciples with them. Are you with me so far? Because the tongue that they spoke was a sign of where they were going. That's why later on you hear Paul say, I speak with more tongues than you all. Did you not hear that? You know that scripture, right? Why is he saying? Because the Most High put a spirit on me that anywhere I went, I could speak their language. Are you with me so far? So now when we go back now and we read verse 7, read it please.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 7. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans?
Read.
And how hear we, every man, in our own tongue, wherein we were born?
Where we were born. They were able to do it? How is that even possible? That's the Holy Spirit coming on them.
That's right.
That they could do this. Now the reason why I know this is real, because when I was a young boy, I heard someone speak in a language, and this person who was from another country got up and said, this is what this particular person said, and asked, how long were you living there? And they said, never been there in my life, didn't even know what you were talking about.
God.
Because that experience does exist. Does it happen now? Well, let's look at that, if you please. Read on, read verse 9 and verse 10, and we'll stop there with this. Go ahead.
God. Verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites.
So let's explain these things. The Medes, they are what became the Greeks. All right? For those of you making notes, go on.
And Elamites.
Elamites, they are the Persians. Go on.
And the dwellers in Mesopotamia.
Continue.
And in Judea. And Cappadocia. And in Pontus and Asia.
Asia is what we've come to know today as Turkey. Go on.
Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya,
And where?
in Libya, about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome.
All right. Now let's stop there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who can remember, on Wednesday, how did we prove that Israel got messed up with the languages? How did we prove that? Who can remember? I gave 2 incidents in our history that's not just recorded in the scriptures, but also recorded in the history books. So, what were they, ladies and gentlemen? We as a people, we were taken into captivity when, where, and how. Now, I'm looking to you who were here on Wednesday because, you know, you're making me very, very sad that I teach and you don't remember, or you didn't take proper notes to remember. You should have. Anyone?
Yeah, yes, Pastor.
I'm not asking you yet, sir. Anyone? Any of the sisters? Come on.
So we were,
Go ahead.
the southern kingdom was taken captive by.
Good. So there's the southern kingdom, and what was the other one part of Israel? You still?
The northern kingdom.
The northern kingdom. Because with Israel, there is 2 parts to us. Southern and northern. You must not forget that. Why is that so important? These are our people. We must know this. We must know this because those are things that help us articulate our history, especially when we meet the so-called lying Jew who says he's a Jew. He will confound you because you don't know your history if you say that you are a Jew. We are the Jew. We are. Very definitely we are. But know your history. So, northern kingdom, southern kingdom. All right. You've done well with that. I won't ask any more from you. Back to you now, my brother.
Yes, sir.
So, who were we captured by in the northern kingdom?
We was captured, in the northern kingdom was captured by the.
Don't tap the table. I just want the word. And anyone helps him, you'll have whatever to pay. Come on.
Okay, yeah, we're captured.
You wanted to answer before.
Yes, sir.
Now you have the opportunity. Answer me. Who were we captured by on the northern kingdom?
The series in 722.
722. Are you sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Good. So who were we captured by on the southern kingdom?
The Babylon in 606 BC.
Excellent. You deserve a star and a pat on the back. Hallelujah. Now, let's take it further. What did we lose out when we were captured? Can someone tell me? If someone takes you as a slave, and listen, we Negroes must know this backwards because it happened to us. What did we lose when we were taken captive? It's happened to us so many times. I don't know why we're struggling. Oh, I don't know the answer to that. Really? So, you're so clear. Let's have you first.
Lost our language.
We lost our what? We lost our language. Good, all right.
Laws.
We lost our laws. Good. Identity. Good. Not please. No, you're gonna let me down badly. I'm gonna run around there. Yeah. Laws what? Yeah, that's the one.
That's it.
Culture. See? Okay. All right. Now you, sir.
Okay, Shalom.
Shalom to you.
Well, they mentioned the law, statutes, conventions, culture, identity, and we took on the customs of the people.
And what did we do?
We took on the customs.
We took on what?
The customs of the people.
The customs of the people that took us into captivity.
God.
We became Babylonian. We became Syrians
That's
because
right.
we took on their language and their customs.
That's right.
Now, here is the difference now. Listen, we're still dealing with Acts 2. We're still dealing with it. But you see, because you've been in the churches, they don't teach it this way. You know, just a good, and God said, that's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. What helps you is knowing what the scriptures said. Are you with me so far? So, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, here in America, and what makes America astonishing in terms of our history? It is the first time in our history that all 12 tribes are on the same continent in captivity. South America holds the other 10 tribes. North America holds the other. Are you with me so far? Why? Because Benjamin and Judah and Levi, they're all up here. They're matriculated from the islands over to here. And we have a melting pot of all of us here. And that's why when Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahushua returns, he's coming back here to reap havoc. Because this is where all his people are. And they have been blighted, torn up, and destroyed. But see, they've been fooling, making you think that the real Jews are over there. They're Ashkenazi. And Ashkenazi basically means they're of German. And then there are those who are from Spain, which makes them what? Sephardic Jews. You see that? Notice, nothing mentions the real deal, which is us. And if you ask them what tribe they're from, they don't know. You, on the other hand, you know. You're Judah, you're Benjamin, you're Levi, you're Issachar. You know who you are. The scriptures have told you so, Khan. All right. Now that we've got that, and I hope you've written that down, and I hope you're not going to forget this because you're forgetting your own family. Let's go now, if you please, and read Acts. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 4 and 10. Let's go there. Exodus chapter 4 and 10.
The book of Exodus, chapter 4 and verse 10.
Go on.
And Moses said unto the Most High, O my Lord.
And remember, we dealt with it on Wednesday, so if you tell me you forget that, I'm going to be very upset. Read it again.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 10.
Go on.
And Moses said unto the Most High, O my Lord, I am not eloquent.
Slow it down, start it again.
Come. Exodus chapter 4 and verse 10.
Go on.
And Moses said unto the Most High, O my Lord, I am not eloquent.
Go on.
Neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant.
Go on.
But I am slow of speech.
And what?
I am slow of speech.
And remember, in the Christian church, they made you to believe that Moses stuttered. Moses didn't stutter one thing. Moses was slow at the Hebrew language. That's it. Period. He was brought up in the house of Pharaoh, so his first language, he was a Hebrew, but his first language was Egyptian. And his second language, which he was slow at, was Hebrew.
That's right.
You see that? And so when Moses was telling him to go, Moses was giving him all of these excuses. But here is the problem. You're dealing with the one who created language. And you think, well, I'm slow. I can't. Why do you think Paul turned around and said, I speak more tongues than any of you? Because the Most High sent the Spirit that made him learn the languages quickly. It's like he puts the Spirit on you and sent you to a country, and you're there only a couple of weeks, and now you're speaking fluently. I said, how do you, well, you couldn't even speak Portuguese. Now you're speaking it like you've been here for years.
Come.
He puts the Spirit on you. That's what he did. And by the way, that spirit still exists today. Obviously, it got quiet now. Because for some of us, he puts the Spirit on you because that lets you know that he's going to be using you internationally so that you can be an interpreter. Somebody said, I just put let's go learn. And you're learning the language and you seem to be flying ahead of everybody else in the class because he's put that Spirit on you. Now, see, this is how you get it now. You think he's going to send a lightning bolt and shock your head and then tongues are going to... No. That's what happened back then as a miracle sign. But he said that these signs shall follow you. Meaning that you still have the ability, if it be the will of Yah, that you can still learn languages quicker than usual, or have an affinity for languages of any nation. Can't? And so, reading on, go on.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 11. And the Most High said unto him, who hath made man's mouth?
Read.
Or who hath the dumb, Salaki, or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Most High? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee.
And do what?
And teach thee.
You see, that's the same Spirit now saying, I will teach thee. The same Spirit that came in Acts 2, that came on them, that made them speak. Oh, Heavenly Father. Finish your point, please.
And teach thee what thou shalt say.
What thou shalt say. See that? All right, from here, jump down, if you please, to verse, let's go to verse 19.
Verse 19. And the Most High said unto Moses in Midian, go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life.
Read.
And Moses took his wife and his sons, and set them upon an ass.
Read.
And he returned to the land of Egypt, and Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And the Most High said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand.
Put where?
In thine hand.
Go on.
But I will harden his heart.
Now remember, he's letting Moses know, I put wonders, I put miracles in your hand. Let him know ahead of time. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why this is so close to my heart in this respect, because if the Most High sends you anywhere, you must never worry.
That's right.
Please, if he sends you, he will provide. He will make a way. He doesn't care about what's going on. Oh, but the country right now is going for a decline. He can make you prosper in the middle of recession, can he not?
Yes, come.
And if he sends you anywhere, he's going to be the provider and make all provisions on your behalf.
That's right.
Huh?
Oh, it's from. Yes.
So read on.
Come. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people
And
go.
notice he says to him, I'm sending you, but I'm telling you ahead of time, I am going to harden his heart. But it shouldn't stop you from doing what I've sent you to do.
Come.
Do it anyway. And what we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes he leads us in places that seem impossible, but there's a testing going on between servant and our maker.
Yes.
Will you listen to him and take him at his word? Read on.
Verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High,
Watch this now.
Israel is my son.
Israel is my son. In other words, you hold him now, but he's my son. Go on.
Even my firstborn.
And firstborns have right to a double portion. Go
Come
on.
And I say unto thee, let my son go,
Read.
that he may serve me.
Read.
And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. And it came to pass.
All right, you can stop there. So right there is letting you know what is going on. Go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 58. First, 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 58. Let's go there.
In the Apocrypha, page 21, 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 58.
Read.
But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn,
See, he's called us that. Go on.
thy only begotten,
Read.
and thy fervent lover,
And he says he fervently loves us. Go on.
are given into their hands.
And that's where we are today. We are in the hands of our captors. They have taken us and held us in bondage. Finish it for me.
Come, verse 59. If the world now be made for our sakes,
So the question is asked, Father, if the world is made for our sakes, what up with that? Go on.
why do we not possess an inheritance with the world?
So why is it that we don't have any sharing in all of the equity of the world? Go on.
How long shall this endure?
So it's asking, how long shall this endure? It will endure until our people get themselves together for the Most High to come and take his people into their land.
Come.
It's powerful, is it
Yes,
not?
it is. Yes, it is.
Is it not? All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14. Now we're going to break some more bones in this word. All right, so 1 Corinthians chapter 14. I hope you're up to it. Hope you're up to it. Hearing me rant and rave, but let's go. Yes, I'm going to start. Before we do that, let's jump back to chapter 13, begin at verse 1, because I think there's some things I need to clear up here.
Come. The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men.
Watch this now. Now when it says speak with the tongues of men, men all over the earth with all different languages. That's what that means, right?
Come.
So if you're making any notes in your Bible, just put a note in the column that says of all nations of the world. That way, whenever you see that word, though I speak with the tongues of men, you know that it's speaking with all the languages that's in the world. Then it says, go on,
And of angels.
and of angels. Now here is the situation. What does that mean?
Come.
I see your hand. Hold your peace just for a moment, my brother. What does that mean? And with or of angels. So, anyone. All right, go ahead.
Pastors are referred to as angels.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But I can't answer that just yet. So, anyone else? All right, let's go to yourself. Brother Isaiah.
But we are angels.
Brother Isaiah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was about to do that same answer and give Revelation chapter 2, verse 1.
Let's go to Revelation chapter 2 and verse 1.
The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Go on.
Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus, write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand.
All right. Now, let's take a look at this. In this particular case here, it is speaking about the angels of the Most High. Now, why is that? Why is that? Some would say that's a double connotation, speaking about Revelations that we just read, but it's also speaking about the angels of the Most High. What does that mean? Somebody hit me. Go ahead. Yes. The angels have a language. Yes. I can't say no. Yes. But what is that language? Yes. Yeah, it's heavenly language, but they speak it up there. So what is that language? We used it down here in the beginning. Oh, well done. Now, as much as I'm trying to be facetious, the reason why we know it is Hebrew is because remember, that was a language that he first spoke with his creation in. It's what our Father speaks. And when all of mankind first spoke, they spoke that language. In the kingdom age, by the way, I don't care what nation they are, they're going to learn to speak the language of heaven, which is, that's why the scripture says, a pure language. Now that word that scripture speaks about, pure language, that pure language is that heavenly language because it hasn't been tarnished. We've lost it because man became disobedient and started to make up different dialects because we wanted to do, he wanted to develop his clan, I wanted to develop my clan, so did he, and so what happened, we became, as much as we had one language, we became separated by that. That's why we read, what did we read? That was Genesis, when we got at Babel, that's what word I wanted, because we got separated at Babel, known as Babel. Because that's all we did. We were babbling a language. That's what I remember when they referred to Paul, they said, here comes this babbler. You see, those are terms that was common among our people. Good point, Howard, good point. Now, let's, did I say a hand over here? No, did I?
Yeah, but you answered the question, because when you said that, it cleared up some things about the angels, the tongue of men and angels, it was the pure language of speaking.
The pure language, and that's the key to remember, that their language is a pure language. And that, by the way, we don't have it yet. We don't have that language yet. We don't have it yet. I'm looking forward to the day that we have that. I'll give you a golden tongue. Sure. But here's the other thing as well. The other nations, they're going to have to speak our language. That's what they're going to have to speak our language. They're going to speak our language whether they like it or not. You notice the way that we all speak English at some point? I mean, every nation basically speaks English. Every nation, no matter where you go. You go to China, they may not speak it well, but they can speak English. Well, every nation will speak our language. And not that we won't have the ability to speak theirs, because we will be, the way that we will be, we can speak any language in the kingdom. But our job is to bring them to speak in our language, to speak the heavenly language, because we're bringing them into understanding of our God. All right, let's go back and read what we. Let's read it again. Let's go on. I am become.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. I am become as sounding brass.
Go on.
Or a tinkling cymbal.
Sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. Meaning that both tinkling cymbals and brass have different sounds. Are you understanding that? They make different sounds. They don't make the same sound. All right? That will be explained as we go along. Read.
Verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy.
I have the gift of prophecy. Follow this closely. Go on.
And understand all mysteries.
And he says, I understand all mysteries. Not some. All of the mysteries of the Most High. He has endowed unto me the ability to understand it. Go on.
in all knowledge.
And all knowledge. Go on.
And though I have all faith,
Go on.
so that I could remove mountains.
In other words, he never went anywhere fearing. This is why, you see, these are the gifts that have been given to us. We want to go, we want to do that. We want that. And I'm not mocking, I'm trying to show you. There are other gifts that he wants you to have that far exceed that. Now, I know it's difficult for you, especially when we've been traditionalized into thinking a certain way in Christianity. Read it again, sir, what you just said.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries
Go on.
and all knowledge,
Read.
and though I have all faith,
Read.
so that I could remove mountains,
Read.
and have not charity, I am nothing.
I am nothing. Because love overrides all things. And you'll notice that charity, love, has been pushed in our nation. You'll read it. Paul pushes it greatly because he knows our people find it hard to love one another. You have to love one another. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. That's huge. Go on, read on. Stay with me.
Come, verse 3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor,
Go on.
and though I give my body to be burned,
Read.
and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing.
Read.
Charity suffereth all.
When I love my brother, when I love my sister, I suffer long. I deal with things longer. Read on.
And is kind. Charity envieth not.
I don't envy you. Go on.
Charity vaunteth not itself.
It does what?
Vaunteth not itself. Is not puffed up. Doth not.
Hold it. Let's just back up because I need people to know what those words mean.
Come.
Voltage simply means braggadocious. You're not a bragger. You don't brag. Go on.
Come. Vaunteth not itself. Is not puffed up.
Puffed up here means ignorant. Someone tells you something, you stick your mouth out. I don't want to hear that. Like kids do. Stupid. Read on.
Verse 5. Does not behave itself unseemly.
Read.
Seeketh not her own. Is not easily provoked.
Read.
Thinketh no evil.
And I'm not thinking evil things towards my brethren. I don't spend no time doing that. Go on.
Rejoiceth not with iniquity.
Read.
But rejoiceth in the truth.
Watch this now. Go on.
Beareth all things.
You bear all things. Go on.
Believeth all things.
You believe all things according to the word. Read.
Hopeth all things.
Go on.
Endureth all things.
Whatever set upon you, I'm going to deal with it. No matter what it is, I can deal with it. That's why the scripture says, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. You've got to believe that.
That's right.
Some of us, we quote this scripture, we don't believe half the things we're quoted.
That's right.
Read.
Charity never fails.
It doesn't fail. Good love never fails.
Come.
Good love is always there. In fact, when everything else fails, that love, I know it's dependable. It's there. Go on.
But whether there be prophecy,
Read.
they shall fail.
Now, what that means, that failure is not speaking about failure as in not have anything. It means to fulfill. That's right. But it says fail. Take my word for it, to fulfill. But that's what it's saying. All right? Go on.
Whether there be tongues, they shall cease.
They shall cease. Meaning now the ceasing, it has a time span on it. It started this way, but down the road, it won't be necessary down the road. It won't be. Now, here's the thing. No, don't do that. You're going to open another can of worms. Let's keep going.
Come. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
Read.
For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
Go on.
But when that which is perfect is come,
Read.
then that which is in part shall be done away.
Now, this is how we see full maturity. Go on.
When I was a child, I spake as a child.
You sounded like a child. Go on.
I understood as a child.
Go on.
I thought as a child.
Go on.
But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Read.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part.
All right. Go to Ezekiel chapter 20 and 35 for me. Let's get a precept on that. Right? Ezekiel 20 and 35. Let's go real quick, and then we're going to go to James. All right. So let's hit that real quick.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20. Salakia. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse 35. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
Face to face. So when we go back now and we read what it says, for now we see through a glass darkly,
Come.
but then face to
But
face.
then face to face.
Go on.
But
I
face
now
to
know.
face. Now I know in part. But then shall I know, even as also I am known.
James 1 and 25. James 1 and 25. Just quickly read that out. Sorry if I'm pushing you a little bit quick today. But
The book of James,
more to go
chapter
through.
1 and verse 25.
Read.
It reads, But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty,
Go on.
and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work.
Be a what?
A doer of the work.
Go on.
This man shall be blessed in his deed.
And his deed. So let's go back. Let's finish it. Verse 13 of 13. 1 Corinthians.
Come, 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 13. And now abideth faith.
Abideth what?
Abideth faith.
These are pillars. Go
Hope.
on. Hope.
Charity.
Charity.
These three.
These three.
But the greatest of these is charity.
Read on.
Follow after charity, and desire spiritual gifts.
Read.
But rather that ye may prophesy.
Keep going.
For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue,
In a what tongue?
in an unknown tongue,
Go on.
speaketh not unto men,
Go on.
but unto God.
Unto God. Go on.
For no man understandeth him. Howbeit in the spirit he speaketh mysteries.
Go on.
But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort.
Go on.
He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself.
Read.
But he that prophesieth edifieth the church.
Read.
I would that ye all spake with tongues,
Read.
but rather that ye prophesy.
Watch it now. Read.
For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues,
See? Greater is he that prophesied than he that speaketh with tongues. Go on.
except he interpret.
He what?
That he interpret.
There must be someone to interpret it.
Come.
Because if there's a whole bunch of people in the room now who are unlearned and they hear it, that's, well, what did he say? The other day when we were here, our brother here was here for the first time. We said, Bro Gathaya, how Bro Gathaya, how Sean? And he's not, what? Must be wondering what was going on. But then we had to explain, what does it mean when we say, Bro Gathaya, how? And then we have to explain, what does it mean by Kwam Yashurala? So he had to learn that by hearing it. Now he knows what it is because someone has done what? Has interpreted or explained what it means. In the church, we have still to this day folk who are just running at the mouth. No one's explained nothing. leaves the church in confusion.
That's right.
Did we not read it again, please?
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 5. I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesied. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying.
Now, why does it say prophecy? Can anyone tell me over here? Who can tell me? Why does it mention that? I'll give you a clue. It's in Revelations. I'll give you a clue. It's 19. I'll give you a clue. I won't tell you anymore.
I have a precept for that. Oh, I'm sorry. Guys.
He's not paying attention. That's why
I was trying to read this.
I'm not looking at it right now. Yeah, I said over here. All right. So, anyone got it this yet? It ends with prophecy. Just one verse that ends with prophecy. If you find out one verse that ends with prophecy, you're there. Revelation chapter 19. Yes, and thank you. Read, sir.
Revelation chapter 19 verse 10. And I fell at his feet.
Watch this now. Go on.
To worship him.
Go on.
And he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant.
I'm just like you. Go on.
And of thy brethren.
I'm of the tribes as well. Go on.
That have the testimony.
That have what?
That have the testimony.
That has the testimony. Your testimony is something powerful. But in the Christian church, they didn't teach you what your testimony meant.
Come.
It said, I have the testimony of who?
Of Yahushua.
Read.
Worship God.
Do what?
Worship God.
Read.
For the testimony
Here it is.
of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy.
Ta-da. There it is right there. It's the spirit of prophecy. So when you prophesy, you are testifying about Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus.
Right.
Go back to where we were.
Yes, sir. Verse 6.
Verse 6.
1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 6. Now, brethren, if I come unto you speaking with tongues,
Watch it now.
what shall I profit you?
See? Because if there's no one there to interpret, what are you going to gain from this, brothers, sisters? Nothing. Go on.
Except I shall speak to you either by revelation,
By revelation,
or by knowledge,
or by knowledge.
or by prophesying,
Knowledge means understanding. Go on.
or by prophesying,
Prophesy, to testify. Go on. Read.
or by doctrine,
Or by doctrine, by teaching. Read on.
and even things without life, giving sound,
Go on.
whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds. How shall it be known what is piped or harped?
Because every instrument lets you know what sound it gives off. So if an instrument lets you know, what instrument is this? And you hear, oh, it's a harp. And you go, oh, very good. How did you know? I just know the strings when I hear it. What is that? Oh, that's a violin. Because I know the sounds. And then a flute has a sound. Every instrument has a distinctive sound that you know the difference. Now, later on, if we get there, we may not, but it says this: how are you going to know how to alert the city if there's a confusion in the trumpet? The trumpet has to be distinctive so we know what that means. So we know whether to go to battle stations or to run to the hills. We know the difference between the sound that's being given. That's why when you read the latter clause of verse 7, it says what?
Come.
Distinctive.
Except they give
Except they
a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped or harped?
Read.
For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle?
See, you have to know that if this sound gives up a certain octave, I know that that's telling me prepare for battle. Because sounds in army, there are trumpets to wake you up, trumpets to stand to attention, trumpets to prepare yourself for battle. And remember, they even have drum beats on slave ships that lets you know how to row. Single time, single row. Double time, two row. Then they have battle say where you're rowing like crazy. So that even with those things, there are distinctions in how they are exercised. Come on, read on.
Verse 9. So likewise ye, except ye utter by the tongue words easy to be understood.
Read.
How shall it be known what is spoken? For ye shall speak into the air.
There it is. Read.
For there it may be so many kinds of voices in the world, and none of them is without signification.
In other words, the word signification means meaning. They're without meaning. Go on.
Verse 11. Therefore, if I know not the meaning of the voice, I shall be unto him that speaketh a barbarian.
Someone who is unlearned. Go on.
And he that speaketh shall be a barbarian unto me.
Read.
Even so ye, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel to the edifying of the church.
Read.
Wherefore, let him that speaketh in an unknown tongue pray that he may interpret.
So, he is now saying, those of you who speak in an unknown tongue, in other words, speak in a language of the earth, also develop the gift, because some of them, this is now going back to when the Spirit came down. The Spirit came down on them in such a way that they spoke other languages, right? But then, when they were speaking a language, nobody knew what they were saying, except for those who were born in the country. But watch what the Spirit also did. The Spirit fell on some, the spirit of interpretation. That as they, even though they weren't speaking it, when they heard them speak, they knew what they were saying, and they could say what it was that they were saying whilst they were in that spirit, utterance. Are you understanding this? So some got the spirit where they could interpret, and some got the spirit where they could speak.
Right.
That's the part that's always been left out. That in the church, back then, they were able to have the spirit of interpretation as well.
That's right.
But here is what happened. In the Corinthian church, that's why it's two books, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Real messed up church. Because what did they do? They had this attitude that I'm going to have a better gift than you. And that's why it brought confusion. Because there were those who were showing off, saying, I've got this gift, I've got that gift, and then it became a church about who's got the better gift. And it created a problem. That's why Paul is spending so much time writing about gifts here in 1 Corinthians. But read on, Doctor. We're going to get ready to wind up. But
Verse 14. For if I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding is unfruitful.
See that? Go on.
What is it then? I will pray with the spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also.
So pray in a way that you know what you're talking about.
Sure.
No, but and then after you finish, you go, oh, I feel really good now. All right, so who got what out of that? What did that mean? Oh, my spirit felt good. Everything must be in edification. Edification. I'll show you something if we have time. Go on, keep going, sir.
Come, I will sing with the spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also.
Come on. Go on.
Else, when thou shalt bless with the spirit, How shall he occupy the room of the unlearned? Say amen.
Read.
At the giving of thy giving of thanks, seeing he understandeth not what thou sayest.
So you can't say amen or amen to anything that you don't understand
That's right.
because it's confusion. Are you with me so far? Are you sure? Because please tell me now because I can fix it now, but don't come to me afterwards because this sucks the life out of me. So do you get it now? If you don't, tell me. If you don't, give me the opportunity so I can patch it up to help you to understand. Anyone online and here? All right. Oh, I'm not saying I don't care about what other people say. Deal with what you feel. Yes, ma'am.
So, Pastor, as we're learning these Hebrew words and we repeat them regularly, we have them in our spirit, but we have to pray to really be able to know what that means, to interpret it, so that we're not just repeating.
Right.
We know people that we can really speak to it in time.
Well, it's like when you're saying, for instance, rise Israel, rise. When you're saying that, and you're praying in your natural tongue, and then you say, your spirit is bearing witness. It's like you're seeing an image of Israel rising, because you're saying it in the Hebrew tongue. Now, here is why as well. Let me quickly find that scripture. It's not scripture, it's a prologue that said that in Sirach chapter, Sirach in the prologue, on page 17, begin, if you please, where it says, wherefore let me entreat you. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Sirach, the prologue, it reads, wherefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention.
See that? With favor and attention, go on.
And to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words,
Read.
which we have labored to interpret.
So you worked hard to learn how to say the words Baruch atah Yahweh. Go on.
For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself, and the prophets, and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language.
Meaning, and that's true of all languages. If you speak a language and try to water the language down to bring some other understanding, you'll find that it's difficult. Why is it difficult? Because that language is better spoke in its tongue. You understand what's being said better. When you try to use like Hebrew in English, something is missing from it. Something is lost in translation. That's why when you say, when you say Baruch atah, you feel how it nourishes and uplifts your spirit, because it is the word that ties in with the origin of your language and your spirit. Come on? So go back to where we were here. Let's read the next verse.
Come.
I want to get ready. I read verse 18.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 18.
Watch this.
I thank my God, I speak with tongues more than ye all.
See, he speaks in more languages than any of them. Go on.
Yet in the church,
In the church,
I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding.
see, he would rather speak words with his understanding, meaning of the language that he suited to speak at that time. Go on.
That by my voice I might teach others also.
Because it's easier to teach people with the tongue that you have.
Right.
All of Israel is going to be saved. Did you have a question? No. All right. All of Israel is going to be saved because they're going to be saved by the tongue that they're held in captivity by. Israel in North America is going to be saved through English, because that's the language you have been raised on. If I start coming with you with Paleo Hebrew, that's going to lose you, because you don't know what that is. So in order for you to understand who you are as the Israelites and what the scriptures say and what the breakdown is, I've got to come to you in a language that you understand. That's English. Now in South America, most of the language there is in Spanish. So the best way for them to learn that is through Spanish. And then when you get to Brazil, now you have to speak Portuguese. Because it's only in Portuguese they understand that better, because that's the tongue that they were enslaved by and know well. So if you want to help the ministry, then ask the Most High to give you an understanding to break this, for the Spirit to help you to speak Portuguese or Espanol, because those are the language that where our people are that we need to speak to reach them better. Come on? So, and right here, verse 19, Paul's going to prove it all at verse 21, but read 19, go on.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 19. Yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, than by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue.
See, rather than speak 10,000 words of unknown tongue, and nobody knows nothing. Read on.
Brethren, be not children in understanding.
In other words, grow up. Stop trying to be indifferent for indifference sake. Go on.
Howbeit in malice.
In what?
In malice.
Now you're seeing it. He brings the word out clearly. Malice. Go on.
Be ye children, but in understanding be men.
Be men. Be men of understanding. In other words, be mature. Now, watch this now. Verse 21. Read.
Verse 21. In the law it is written, with men of other tongues.
Men of what?
With men of other tongues.
Go on.
And other lips will I speak unto this people.
Will I speak unto this people? Go on.
And yet for all that will they not hear me, saith the Lord.
All right. Hold that. Run to Isaiah 11 and 11, and then going to Isaiah 28 and 1. Let's go.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse 11.
Go on.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people,
Read.
which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt,
See, go on.
and from Pathros, and from Cush.
Now, you just read all of that in Acts chapter 2.
Come.
Did you know?
Yes.
Because it shows you our people have been scattered. All the way back then, they were scattered. All the way back then, they were scattered. And it gives all the breakdown of all. And if you read that along with Acts, you identify all the places that's in Acts why they ended up, because remember, a remnant of them kept the laws. And that remnant would go to Jerusalem to keep the feasts.
That's right. Come.
See? Jump to 28. Chapter 28 and 1, please.
Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 1. Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower,
Is a faded flower. Go on.
which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine.
Overcome with wine. Here, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned the other day, the word wine here symbolizes philosophy. Philosophy. Because some of you have been taught in Christianity that the wine means a spirit. Remember, you've got to keep this in mind. In the scriptures, there is a left-hand side and a right-hand side. Right-hand side deals with the things of the Most High God in purity. And then on the left-hand side is dealing with the things of darkness that he our Father, still controls, but he uses those for other means, diverse means. So there's left and right. So as wine can have a right-hand side understanding, it can also have a left-hand side understanding. Can? All right. So drop that. Go back to Isaiah. Go to Isaiah chapter. Are you in 28? Are you in Isaiah 28?
Yes, sir.
All right. Jump to verse 9 for me, please.
Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9.
Go on.
Whom shall he teach knowledge?
There it is. Go on.
And whom shall he make to understand doctrine?
Read.
Them that are weaned from the milk,
Only those that are weaned from the milk. Go on.
and drawn from the breast.
Israel is drawn from the breast of their mothers,
Come.
not from the breast of other people. And the other nations, even if they pick up this book and say, this is our book, you can pick it up, you can balance it on your head, you can flip-flop it all you want. It's never going to be yours. It's only the book of Israel.
That's right.
That's whom the book is for. Read on.
Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept.
Meaning you've got to take some of the scriptures or teaching from one book or from one section of the Bible and use that to help you understand in another section of the Bible. Hold that quickly. I recognize we have some new people online as well as here. So let's go to Psalm 119. You know what I want. Begin at 100. You know, 119 verse 100.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 100. I understood more than the ancients.
See? So he understands more than the ancient, our forefathers. Why do we understand more than them? Here is why. Read on.
Because I keep thy precepts.
I keep thy precepts. Precept must be upon precept. We just read it, did we not? Jump down to verse 104. Read that.
Verse 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding.
So precepts helps you to get understanding.
Come.
Go on.
Therefore I hate every false
I
way.
hate every false way. Jump down to verse 110.
Verse 110. The wicked have laid a snare for me.
So the wicked are continually trying to make our way, Israel, make our way hard. How do we know this? Listen, they've got a lynching squad out now, operating in different states,
Come.
trying to catch our brethren and hang them from trees. Now, if that's not letting you know that the wicked are setting up snares for us, I don't know what is.
That's right.
Read that again in case anyone thought you stuck it.
The wicked have laid a snare for me.
Read.
Yet I erred not from thy precepts.
But I stick with the precepts because the precepts, as we read earlier on, it said, because I keep thy precepts, I have more understanding than the ancients.
Come.
Is that not what it said?
That's right.
104 said, through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
Come.
Right, let's go back to Isaiah.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 28 and verse 10.
Read.
For thy precept must be upon precept.
Must be what?
Must be upon precept.
Go on.
Precept upon precept.
Go on.
Line upon line. Line upon line.
Go on.
Here a little and there a little.
Here a little and there a little. Go on.
For with stammering lips.
For with what?
With stammering lips.
There it is. With stammering lips. Go on.
And another tongue.
And another tongue. Is that what it said?
Come.
Go on.
Will he speak to this people?
Will he speak to this people? Go back, if you please, to 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 21. And let's read.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 21. It reads, Then in the law it is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people.
Meaning that you're going to learn the truth about who you are, the gospel is the good news. What is the good news? Who you are. Who are you? Israel. You're the one that they pretended didn't exist. That's the gospel. But what's so amazing, our people hear this and they don't want to hear the gospel. They don't want to hear the good news about who they are. Let's go from here. Let's start finishing this up now. Go to Genesis 42. Genesis 42 and begin at verse 23.
Genesis chapter 42 and verse 23. And they knew not that Joseph understood them.
So, watch this now. The brothers who are of the 12 tribes, they come to Egypt because they need some supplies. And they meet their brother and they didn't recognize him. Why? Because he looked exactly like an Egyptian.
That's right.
Oh, Pastor Thompson, you're so right. When we're taken by the other enemies, we look like them. Did I not be telling you that? So Joseph looked just like the Egyptian. Egyptians kept no hair on them. They even had no eyebrows. They painted them on. That's why when you see hieroglyphics, you see they're painted on eyebrows. They shaved their eyebrows off, shaved the hair on their heads, shaved the hair on their bodies. It was a tradition. Joseph was no different because he now became the second most powerful man in Egypt. And he had no beard in his face, so he was clean shaven and he looked unrecognizable. But whilst he was there, he listened to them speaking, and they didn't know as to whom they were standing in front. And Joseph was smart enough to use an interpreter to speak the language. Notice, speaking two languages. One of them was unknown to the children of Israel. That's why they could speak the Egyptian tongue. Joseph, on the other hand, had an advantage because he could speak both the Hebrew language and the newfound language that became his first language because he was not speaking any Hebrew in all the time that he was reigning there. Is it making sense now, ladies and gentlemen? So read on, please, sir.
Genesis chapter 42, verse 23. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter.
Read.
And he turned himself about from them, and wept, and returned to them again, and consumed them, and communed with them, and took from them Simon, and bound him before their eyes.
So now he knew what they were saying. He knew when they're having their little huddle discussion, he was understanding every word. So he knew how to bait his plan for them. Even though his brothers did him evil, he still loved his brother. That's why we read in Paul where he says, charity suffereth long.
That's right.
Let's go to Psalms. We'll finish up. Just two more scriptures. Psalms 19 and 3, please. And this Psalms you need to highlight. We read it the other night, but you need to definitely highlight this and keep it as a marker for your scriptures. Psalms chapter 19 and verse 3.
The book of Psalms, chapter 19 and verse 3. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard.
So, what that's letting us know, God's voice is heard in every language. Our Father's voice is heard in every language. Why? He has to, because all our people are in every language, and he has to be able to speak to them to wake them up to who they are. See that? Read it one more time and then let's go to Acts.
Psalms chapter 19 and verse 3. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard.
All right, do me a favor. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 28 and 11. Let's read that so I know that I've rested that a number of times for people to keep it in their minds. So,
The
so
book of Isaiah, chapter 28,
Good.
verse 11.
read, sir.
For with stammering lips
Read.
and another tongue will he speak to this people.
To this people. Now from there go to Acts 2 and 8. We'll read 8 to 11 and then we're finished, I think. Acts 2 and 8. Thank you.
The book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 8. And how hear we, every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born,
Go on.
Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya, about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongues.
We do hear them what?
We do hear them speak in our tongues.
In our tongues. Go
The
on.
wonderful works of God.
The wonderful works of the Most High. Well, that's good. All right. Can I just read one last scripture just to close this out? Matthew chapter 2 and 13. I think that will be it. No, 13.
The book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and
Hold it. So what language do you think he was speaking? He spoke to him. He said, "Arise." So he was speaking to them. So he was speaking to them from the first language, right? Okay, then. So continue for me, please.
Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt.
See where?
And flee into Egypt.
Egypt is always a place. Go on.
And be thou there until I bring thee word.
And that's why it's such a nonsense when we as Negro people believe when they talk about a little white, blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus with white, pale skin going into all of dark Egypt, and he's going to live there for many years, and no one recognizes who he is. He's going to a place where people all look like him. Finish it for me.
Come. And be there, Salaki, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
To destroy him. All right. We're done. If there's any questions online or in here among you all, please feel free to ask a question at this time. All right. Anyone? Go ahead, sir.
Shalom, Dr. Thompson. This goes back to 1 Corinthians 13 and 1. And I wanted to know, can we tie Zephaniah 3 and 9?
Yes, you can. So I said that one quickly. So let's go back and read 1 Corinthians. State it again for our brother to be able to read it.
13 and 1.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1.
Come. In the precept.
With Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 1. Though I speak unto the tongues of men
Go on.
and of angels,
Go on.
and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass.
Because what?
As sounding brass,
Sounding brass. Go on.
or a tinkling cymbal,
Or what?
or a tinkling cymbal.
Go on.
Zephaniah chapter 3,
Yes, sir.
is it verse 9?
Verse 9.
Come. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 9. For behold, the stone that I have laid before Joshua.
No. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 9.
Salakia.
No, where it says pure language.
So no, it's all right. You
Zephaniah.
read it from some other script.
Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 9.
Read.
For then will I turn to the people a pure language.
A what?
A pure language.
A pure language. Go on.
That they may all call upon the name of the Most High, to serve him.
To do what?
To serve him
Go on.
with one consent.
With one consent. Yes.
And, and by the way, Salakia Officer Haya Shalom.
Shalom.
And now, that one consent is. Can we also tie in that with let this mind be in you, which was also
Correct.
in Christ Jesus?
Correct. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. Yes, indeed. You can. From there, go to Isaiah. Go to Isaiah. Yeah, Isaiah 19 and 18, please.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 19 and verse 18. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan.
See? See that? So read it again, sir.
Isaiah chapter 19 verse 18. And in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak in the language of Canaan.
They will speak our language. Go on.
And swear to the Most High of hosts.
And they will give their fealty. Go on.
One shall be called the city of destruction.
All right, jump from there. Go to Isaiah 57 and 19.
Isaiah chapter 57 and verse 19. I create the fruit of the lips. Peace.
Hold it. Read it again.
Isaiah chapter 57 and verse 19. I create the fruit of the lips.
Go on.
Peace. Peace to him that is far off, and to him that is near, saith the Most High, and I will heal him.
Come on. All right, there it is. So these are additional scriptures to back up what we've just read thus far. Come on. All right. Any questions from anyone online? All right. Whilst you're getting that, yes, I'll take a question here. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that all 12 tribes are here.
Come on.
When you said that, I started thinking about the tribes, but I also thought about this past summer and last year when Brazil and Venezuela and South America, those countries were desperately trying to get to the United States.
Yes.
Do you feel that was spiritual in order to make sure that all 12 tribes are here?
No, see, all 12 tribes, the reason why we say that all 12 tribes are here, because North America is still part of South America. The borders have made it like they're separate, but it's not. Because there is it is one continent. South America comes, which is bigger than North America, comes all the way in. Now, the reason why oftentimes that's misleading is because America, being what America is, made their maps to show North America being as big as, or sometimes even bigger than, South America. Garbage. South America is huge,
That's right.
and North America is smaller.
Right.
So, but they're all on one and the same landmass. Now, those who were trying to get from South America up to North America, they were doing that because of political unrest. There was no food. The gangs had taken over many of their areas and had become the rulers. And people were living in fear. But that's the will of the Most High God. And he's not done with South America yet. He's going to make it get worse.
Right.
Because our Northern Kingdom brothers are stubborn. They're stubborn. They don't like to hear their Southern brothers say this because they like to feel like, because they feel superior. They really do. Because they think they're in their country. You're not in your country. You're a slave that was brought there centuries later, you're still there, and look at your life. But here's the thing, the people who have ruled them have been Europeans who came from Europe, take up positions in those countries, and rule over those who are there. Here's the other thing to bear in mind as well. Whenever you see any images of South America, they never show the northern kingdoms in their true light. They're always showing the northern kingdoms being fair-skinned people, or basically white. And in the interior of South America, people are dark-skinned. Just jump over to Guyana, dark-skinned. And in fact, if you took a picture of those people in Guyana or anywhere in South America, and you matched those images with the West Africans, you wouldn't know the difference. Because they look one and the same people. And somebody did that once. Somebody took pictures of island people in the Caribbean and matched it up with the West Africans, and they said we could see no difference. And then they took pictures of Guyana and even Brazilians and matched it up, and they looked like one and the same people. Because we're the same people. You know, we've just been broken up and destroyed and made to think the less of our people. And it's just good brainwashing tactics they've used. But we're waking up. Wong Yeshua. All right, any other questions?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bishop Dominique here. Does blood have a language? Genesis 4, 9, and 10. Also the blood covenant through baptism and the blood slain before the foundation of the world.
Blood does not necessarily. That's Brother Dominic. Yes. Blood does not necessarily have a language, but it does speak. He mentioned Genesis
4, 9 through 10.
4 and 9. Let's quickly go there. 4 and 9. Let's look at that real quick. That's dealing with Cain and Abel. Go ahead.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 9.
Begin at 8.
Verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him.
Now, the reason why that happens is because Cain is a prototype of Esau. Esau has always had it in him that he wants to kill his brother. And that's why even today, when you look back and see Cain had it in him that he wanted to kill his brother Abel. The difference was back then he succeeded. The difference later is that Esau, in Genesis 25 and 25, concerned, he could not kill us because the scripture already said, or the words came out, which is, your younger brother will be stronger than the older brother.
That's right.
But read on.
Verse 9. And the Most High said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother?
Read.
And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
Go on.
And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Now, when it says the voice of thy brother, it says, read it again.
And he said, what hast thou done?
Go on.
The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Yes. So his question is, does blood have a voice? Well, the answer to that is no. What it is actually saying there, when you break it down correctly, is saying that the spirit of his brother crieth. That's why there's another scripture that says that the saints they are crying day and night, asking, when will you revenge our blood? You see, because the nations have taken our blood, they've killed us, and therefore, when will that revenge happen? And he tells them basically that he's going to come back and he's going to be like, go to the wine press and he's going to destroy and his garment will be full of blood, etc., etc. Now, if boys had a blood, after he done destroy them, all the blood that's going to be on him is going to be crying out. So that's not true then. It's really speaking about the spirit of his brother crying out for revenge. Khan? All right. And what was the second part of his question?
Also, the blood covenant through baptism and the blood slain before the foundation of the world.
Yeah. Now the blood covenant is important because what the blood covenant does, it's a cover. It's a cover. And it's a temporary cover. Because all animal blood is temporary. That's why I said not all the blood of beasts on Jewish altars slain could give the guilty conscience and peace and drive away all stain. It can't do that. So what happened was it had to be Yahweh's blood. He had to be the ultimate sacrificial lamb. And his blood now did away with all our sins. Because all the animal sacrifice, that was just sacrificial covering. And we got smart in the end, and we got presumptuous. I'm going to have, I'm going to be a little bit blunt, so I'm going to have sex with that sister tonight. I'm going to get me a couple of turtle doves so I can go and put them on the altar when I get done. That's how bad we became. Premeditated sin, yes. And so in the end, he said it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to go and kill that brother, and after I've done killed him, I'm going to go and give these sacrifices. We became callous. So he had to then send his son to become the propitiation for our sins, so that truly our sins could be not just covered, but washed away. And because of his blood, we become sinless through him. Not ourselves, because we are, in this body, we're still a problem. But one day we'll have a body that will not have the propensities to do the things that it does now. That we do now. Okay. Any other questions from anyone else before we go? Any questions from our brothers here, sisters here? Please feel free to ask. So it was a heavy meal today, heavy meal. Heavy meal, and it takes some time for you to digest it down. But to the Most High be the glory. You're going to have to go through this down the road. All right, sisters, feel free. If you have questions, ask now. Or forever hold your peace. So, any questions? Any questions? None? Oh, Sister Elizabeth, you did have your hand up, but I didn't get to, did I? But I've gone so far. I'm sorry if I get carried away, but you get into the flow, you see. Hallelujah. All right. So now, on the behalf of all of you who key into our channel, we hope that you have been blessed. And we're going to ask you, as you did a couple of months ago, you assisted us in helping us reach more of our brothers and sisters. So we're going to ask you again. We want to do the same again, where we're going to challenge you. We want to reach a great number of our people. Now, last time it was very high. It was 10,000 people we wanted to reach. So I'm going to lower it this time and say, all right, 5,000, half of that. But we want to wake up as many of our brothers and sisters to this truth. I don't want to see any of our brothers and sisters left behind in this mess. I don't want to see them not make it, and because of my idleness in not being active for service. So I'm going to ask you, help me reach 5,000 of our people. Help me do that. Because we want to be able to reach them, wake them up, so they know who they are as Israelites, that they can learn the truth and become the men and women of the Most High God that they have been made and called to be. So help me do that. Please, even this teaching, send it out to someone, repost it, there are other teachings, and there are other teachings that I'd like to encourage you to send out, such as Let's Talk and all of those others. There are a number of teachings that you can send out, and it will be a blessing to them. So I'm asking you, if you will be so kind, make that part of your agenda for this month. And I would also want you to know this as well, that we thank you for all of the offerings and the prayers that you've been sending. And we thank you for how you've been supporting us, because you have been really supportive, great blessing to us. And we know that this is not about developing mega churches, because the 1/3 is Dallas. We have Officer Yu, who's up there, a great teacher, great man of God, very sound in the word. If you have any family members or you know of any friends who are in the Dallas area, they want teaching, they want a place to gather by, just contact him. We can give you his telephone number, or you'll find it on the website.
Right.
Bear in mind as well that we have Elder Fields, Darrell Fields, who's over in San Antonio, Texas. Another great teacher. I've known him for many, many years. We've traveled through Italy, Germany, and various parts of Europe with this word. And he's a very astute man. So again, if you need a teacher over in the San Antonio area, he's resident there now. He's not going anywhere else. So you can get his name and number on the website, and you can follow through on it with him then. And we also have our brother, Dominic, who is over, in fact, the Deacon Dominic. He's over in the Sheffield area. Again, a very bright young man, sound in the word. And we would like to, anyone in that area, if you need teaching, you need a place to gather with and get support on the Sabbath, he's our man there. And we also have Brother Azariah in London. Please give him a call, or call us, or email us, and we'll give you details that you can reach him. He and his family are there. They're holding the fort, and they're fighting the good fight of faith. And to all our sisters who have been a great support to us, continue to support us, continue to back us up, and we will continue to support and back you up, because we are our brother's keeper. And we look forward to spending time with you again on the next Sabbath. And if any of you have a moment, please just log in with us on the Wednesday night for our teaching there. And we start always at about 7 o'clock, between 7 and 7:30 our time here in Texas. And we'll be too pleased to have you as our guest. Now, on the behalf of all of us here, everyone in the room, we want to say, Barak Atah Yahweh!
Barak Atah Yahweh!
Barak Atah Yahweh!
Barak Atah Yahweh!